Now, okay. Now making the machines learn means what is the learning that you want the machines to do? So if I ask you, what do you learn? So what will you say? I learn a lot of things. I learn books. I learn data, and I also learn from my past experiences. Correct. So if I say I learn books, so what does it mean? Suppose I learned in my first and the second grades, or in the seventh and the eighth grades, I learned a lot of subjects: history, civics, geography, physics, chemistry, maths. So I have learned all this. And I may or may not remember this, but I have some things in my mind regarding that. So this was bookish knowledge. So that was also learned. And making bookish knowledge learned to the systems is fairly easy. What are you supposed to do is basically, just give me 2 minutes. I'll just close the windows because I think it is creating a lot of noise. Just give me 2 minutes. Okay, so probably this is better. I am better visible, and also that noise will not be there because there is some training for aviation training which is going on. So there was a lot of noise. Okay. So let me again start sharing my screen. I hope it is audible and clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So we were talking about AI and ML. So as we discussed that artificial intelligence is making the machines behave in the same way as humans do. And for this, we need to make the machines learn also. So we were talking about that we make the machines learn bookish knowledge. And the second thing that is most important is we do a lot of things in our day-to-day lives based on our past. Like like somebody asks you that which is a better place, Missouri or Shimla. So what will you say is, whatever you will say would be based on your experiences, or it can be the experiences of your friends. But you know that, correct? Maybe that is not bookish knowledge. You have not learned, you have not read it anywhere, correct? But you do have that knowledge on the basis of your experiences. Maybe you have been to Missouri or Shimla, or your friend has been to Missouri and Shimla, or one of those places, and has given his or her inputs. So you can say, okay, you can of course go to Missouri. It is from Dehradun, 35 kilometers from Dehradun, and it is not so much curvy as you have it in Shimla. Shimla is far off from Chandigarh, some 70 kilometers, and you may have to walk a lot in Shimla as compared to in Missouri. Blah blah blah. So lots of things can be told to you as a part of their experiences, and on the basis of that you may decide whether you want to go to Missouri or Shimla. Okay, so somebody says that Shimla is better reachable because you just can take a flight till Chandigarh, and from Chandigarh itself you can take a taxi, etc., etc. So this is all can be decided on the basis of the experiences. So these experiences need to be stored somewhere, correct? Until and unless it is stored, the machines cannot learn from those experiences. Okay? So one thing that I told, that we are learning from the bookish knowledge, and we are also learning from the experiences that we may have or my friends may have, or there are many other certain things which I need to do on the daily basis. Like suppose if I want to take a decision, suppose I want to catch a flight. So okay, so that is based on a lot of things. Is COVID gone? Or what are the number of corona cases in Nagpur city, and accordingly I can take a decision to go to take a board a flight or not, because some 2 months back there were 8,500 cases per day. So that was a huge number. So is it possible to go now, etc., etc.? So there are a lot of things on the basis of which you are going to take your decision. And what are those things? It's again can be stored into the database, and on the basis of that you can decide what to do next. Correct. So first of all, I have to save all this, I have to store all this data, and secondly, I have to retrieve the information which is actually required for you. Like suppose I can get the number of corona cases in Delhi, and I don't need that because I don't have to go to Delhi at all. I have to go to Shimla, so I'm catching a flight from Nagpur to Chandigarh. So I may not go to Delhi at all. So I don't need that data. What are the number of corona cases in Delhi? Correct. So I have the corona cases in each and every city, but I don't need all those data. And in fact, I would take you through a working example on this also. We will do a hands-on exercise in which we would take some corona data and then find out, and I may also predict the number of corona cases in the future. And also I can do an analysis that how the corona cases are increasing day by day. And secondly, as I mentioned, I don't need the corona cases for Delhi. I need only the corona cases for Chandigarh. Correct. So on the basis of that, I can decide that, okay, if it is less than the threshold, I take the threshold as to be 100. So if the number of cases every day is less than 100, then of course I can board a flight, because then it is less serious to board a flight. Next thing is RT-PCR required. So this is again another point, another set of data that may be retrieved from the database. Correct. So it says machine learning is finding out the program. In the traditional way, what happens is you give the data, you give the program to the computer, and accordingly you get an output. Like suppose if I say, I simply write a program of INTI is equal to 10, and then I write a program of INTJ is equal to 20, and then I say INTK is equal to I plus J, and then I say cout K. Simple. So what happens is I have given the data. This was nothing but the data. This is nothing but the data. And I can say this is the complete program. And what I'm getting as an output is K is equal to 30 is the output. That is the traditional programming that you do in any of the languages, C, C++, Java, Python, whatever you do. You give the data and you give the program as an input, and you get the output. That is what should be the output for the program. So what should be the output of the program is K is equal to 30. Now, what if I say 10, 20 is equal to 30? Now, what is this? I am giving you the data. Data is 10, 20. I'm giving you the output that is 30, and I'm asking you the program. What you should do to get the output? Correct. What you should do to get the output. Now, what is my output? 30. What should I do? I should do the addition. So this is what happens in the case of machine learning. What happens in the case of machine learning? You ask for the program. So a lot of things go inside that to get the correct outputs, or you can say, I want the desired output, and for desired output, I need to perform certain programming. I need to perform certain actions, and on the basis of that, I would get my correct output. Yeah. So machine learning says I give the program as data as an machine learning says I give the output as the data, and I want the program, and my accuracy should be good enough. That is, I am 100% confident that if you go to Shimla, you would have a great time. So what is my output basically? My output is that I should enjoy, correct? And with minimum stress. This is my output. What is the data? The data is either you go to Shimla, either you go to Mussoorie, all the pros and cons related to Shimla, all the pros and cons related to Mussoorie, and all the ifs and buts related to both the cities. Like I have to, what are the process of going to Shimla? What are the stress which are involved in going to Shimla and Mussoorie, etc., etc. So this is all my data. What is my output? Output is I should enjoy with minimum stress. Correct. So that is my output. Now you combine this output with the data and give you the program. That is, I should go to, I should catch a flight from Nagpur to Chandigarh. From Chandigarh, I should take a taxi, which can take me to Shimla. And then I may enjoy there and then return back. So this is my program. How you are going to enjoy with minimum stress. अभी नहीं समझ में आया, आगे जाके और अच्छे से समझ में आएगा. ठीक है? So as I was saying that the machines need to learn a lot of things as humans do, and sometimes it is bookish knowledge and sometimes it is experience. And when I say this, so this was a theoretical concept, and we as engineers don't believe in theoretical concepts until and unless it is implementable. As computer science engineers, basically. So if until unless it is implementable, if I'm not able to implement it or execute it, then there is no point in doing it. So the same thing, if I say I want to save the experience, but how? Or I want to learn from the experiences, but how? So there should be some way in which I can store the experiences. So that is why it says there are 3 things that needs to be taken care of, and which forms my machine learning model. So first is my performance. Performance is nothing but the accuracy, that how are you going to evaluate your model? How are you going to find out that how accurate your model is? Is the task that you are supposed to do, the objective of your program, what are you supposed to do? And E is the experience. So the E can be termed as your data set, your database. T is your objective. Like suppose, as I said, what was my objective? I want to have a enjoy with a stress-free enjoyment. Okay, so that was my T. What was my performance? So I am saying I'm 100% sure that if you go to Shimla, you would enjoy. That is my performance. I would say I am 70% sure that you may or may not enjoy. Correct. So I can give you the variation. Like I am 70% sure that you may enjoy in Shimla, and I'm 80% sure that you're going to enjoy in Mussoorie. So what they're going to do is, since Mussoorie has better accuracy, so I'll go for Mussoorie. Correct. So this is the way how you calculate your P, and E is nothing but the database, as I mentioned. So like suppose if you want to design a model for automatic cars, correct? If you want to design a model for automatic cars, so basically, if I want to go from A to B, A is my source and B is my destination. So what are the anybody tell me then what are the E, T, and E in this? I want to go from A to B. This is my source, and this is my destination. So what will be the P, T, and E? Can anybody tell me? Just have a vague idea. As it has been told by ma'am that you can put it onto the chat box. Okay. I'm waiting for the replies on the chat box. What possibly can be? I want to go from A to B and I want to make a model for it. So what can be P, T, and E? So I told you all I want the output as going from the source to the destination. So what can be possibly, my objective is to go from A to B. That is my T. So what can be P and E? No one? Yes, P is performance. So what will be the performance in this case? I said my objective is to go from A to B. My T is going from A to B. So what is P in this case? How can you calculate P in this case? Have you got the question? Execution time, perfect. So what is the time that is required from going from A to B? Fine. So one of the performance measure can be time. of the performance measure can be time. Anjali ma'am, performance time and execution time in this case, when I'm talking about a real world scenario, so there won't be any difference between performance, execution time and the process time. That will remain the same in this case. Ma'am, Anjali ma'am, loading, etc. This all comes in if you are going for a computer program. I'm not talking about a computer program. In simple layman terms, I want to go from A to B. So what will be the performance measure? Chetan sir, I want to go from Nagpur to Jabalpur. How are you going to evaluate my performance on this? I am also going from Nagpur to Jabalpur. Anjali ma'am is also going from Nagpur to Jabalpur. How will you say that, okay, Pooja did well, Anjali was not able to do it so well? How will you say that? What are the measures by which you are going to check that, okay, I was better and she wasn't?
Resources, madam.
Or vice versa.
Resources.
If I say we both had same resources, what are the resources? Car. So you also had a car, I also had a car. I'm saying forget about computer science at this point of time. So you are into process time, execution time, loading and resources. Forget about all that. Simple layman. आप किसी XYZ से पूछ रहे हो, he or she is not an engineer. कुछ भी नहीं है वो. Simple आप ये बोलो कि मुझे नागपुर से जबलपुर जाना है. So how you are going to evaluate yourself कि I did a perfect job? Okay. Techniques of phone of traveling experiences. Accuracy, that is what I'm trying to ask Bhavna ma'am. How are you going to evaluate your accuracy? What accuracy is based on what? Accuracy is based on what? Okay, speed, very good. So speed is directly related to what? Time. अगर हम भी जा रहे हैं और अंजलि मैम भी गए तो what will you check? अंजलि मैम को 2 घंटे लगे और मुझे 3 घंटे लगे. Who is better? Anjali ma'am is better. Perfect. So what I was trying to ask you is, yes, route selection. Very good. That is what I wanted to ask. That is what the answer I was expecting. Okay, first of all, what is the time that is required and what was the route that I chose? That is basically the distance. Okay, and route selection is also very important. Not only distance, but route selection also. So I give you a very beautiful example on this. Like suppose there were 3 routes on this. Going from A to B had one route as A. I won't say A now here. I would say X, Y, and Z. So there are 3 routes in going from A to B. So this is X, Y, and there is another route from going to A to B, which is Z. Z. Okay, and this is Z, and this is X. Correct. So I can very well have a table here. I can very well have a table here. Which will say the path that is being followed. The path that is being followed, what is the distance that was involved and what is the time that it took. So if I'm taking 2 measures as distance and time, so for X, what was the distance and time? What was for Y and for Z? Like suppose if I say for X, distance was 10 kilometers and it took me 20 minutes. This was 15 kilometers and it took me 35 minutes. And this was 12 kilometers, but it took me 18 minutes. This is possible. So as what Chetan sir said, this is perfect. Route selection. So if I say X and Z are to be compared. Like Y is absolutely not desirable because it is more distance and more time. So why will I choose that? Correct. So I'm not going to take Y. Correct. But what about X and Z? X and Z, one is less distance, more time, more distance, less time. This is possible. Like suppose if I take a route which had a lot of potholes or which had a lot of traffic, and because of which I was not able to reach on time. So suppose if I say the distance X, the X has a distance of only 10 kilometers, but it is taking 20 minutes, maybe because of a lot of traffic. Z is only a distance, Z has more distance of 12 kilometers, but it is taking only 18 minutes. So it's my choice now, what is my performance measure, whether it is distance or it is time. Because if it is time, then of course I would take the Z route, even if it is more kilometers, but it is taking me less time. But if my performance measure is distance, then probably I may go for X. Time doesn't matter for me. 2 minutes here and there is fine. So I may go for a distance of X because it is less distance. I'm saving on petrol. And if suppose I am getting late for my office, so I may choose the path Z. I may choose the path Z because though it is taking a lot of distance, but the time is less. Okay, and it may also happen like I may go for this also sometimes because the route is very beautiful. It's very scenic. It's on the highway. I don't have to give a lot of stress onto the data on the road. So I may go for Y also sometimes. So it all depends what is your performance measure. That is what it says, what should be your output. Yeah, and what is your performance measure? आप किस पे एक्यूरेसी निकालना चाह रहे हो अपनी डिस्टेंस पे कि टाइम पे कि स्ट्रेस फ्री पे कि हाईवे होना चाहिए सुंदर होना चाहिए रास्ता तो सुंदर होना चाहिए तो मे बी इट इज टेकिंग मी मोर टाइम एंड मोर डिस्टेंस आई डोंट केयर आई वांट टू हैव I'm going for a long drive suppose I want to go for a long drive why will I care for the distance or why will I care for the time I have enough time enough distance I would choose the route Y correct I may choose the path Y I'm going for a long drive. So I want to go on a highway on a scenic beauty. Correct? So machine learning is all about this. You may come up with a different answer. I may come up with a different answer. It all depends. What is the performance measure that you are going to check for? You may have a different desire. I may have a different desire. And accordingly, we may come up with the answer. Like suppose if I say distance is my performance measure and Anjali ma'am took 10 took a route X and I took a route Z. So of course Anjali ma'am is going to win because she took a distance, she took X path and that was only 10 kilometers. So she is going to win. समझ में आ गई बात सबको? भावना मैम, चेतन सर, अंजलि मैम, is it clear now? What was I was trying to ask? I was just trying to ask what is the performance measure? That is your P. What was E? E is nothing. E is this. E is this. Experience. Experience ही तो था ना कि X path में इतना distance और इतना time लगना है, Y path में इतना distance और इतना time लगना है, किसी ने तो बताया ही होगा ना आपको, या आपने खुद किया होगा वो काम. तो Google Maps ने बताया तो that is also experience. किसी और ने आपको बताया that is also experience. Transportation problem, yes, this is the transportation problem, or that is a very talked about problem also. Or Google Maps is using it every day, every minute. क्योंकि अगर आप suppose if you want to go to Butibori from Cummins College, so it is a very long distance. तो आप सुबह देखोगे तो कुछ और time आएगा, दोपहर में देखोगे तो कुछ और time आएगा, शाम को देखोगे तो कुछ और time आएगा. Maybe it is the same distance, but a lot of things matter. The traffic matters, the time of the day matters. So many things matter at that time. Correct? Clear, everyone? So this is what machine learning is, in which you get the output. आपको पता है आपको क्या करना है, कैसे करना है ये आपको आइडेंटिफाई करना है. Okay, so let's move forward. So one of the very talked about problem in machine learning is face recognition. और ये आपने, this is my image with my sisters, and Facebook पे आपने देखा होगा ये white box बन जाता है. What is this white box? In which the Facebook is trying to recognize the faces. From where? From my database. So I may have added the images of these two sisters in my database. So इसलिए वो white box बना के दे रहा है कि and it also gives me suggestions. Is it Mamta Jain? Like this. So it is giving me suggestions also onto it. And what is this? Facebook face recognition. और ये आप हर मिनट करते हो. आप अपने पेपर वाले को पहचानते हो, आप अपनी मेट को पहचानते हो, आप अपने पड़ोसी को पहचानते हो, आप सबको पहचानते हो. How do you do that? You don't even know how you are going to do it. So that is what it says. Machine learning is used in those examples in which humans can't explain their expertise. I don't know how I do it, but I can do it very well. I am able to recognize the faces of all the people who come in my contact, but how I'm doing it, I am not sure. So if I want my machine to behave in the same way as I do, the machine should also be able to recognize the faces. Okay? Image classification. You can identify what is a dog and what is a cat. ठीक है? अगर आपको एक white cat दिख जाए and you have not seen ever a white cat in your life, so you don't have the experience. You don't have an experience of seeing a white cat. But if sometimes white cat comes across your eyes, so are you going to confuse him with a lion? Of course not. Because there are certain features of cat which you may match with your current image and say कि बहुत ज़्यादा similarity है, तो ये cat है, ये lion नहीं है. You do it every day. और यही मुझे मशीन को सिखाना है. ठीक है ना? आपने किसी बंदे को देखा और पहली बार देखा, ट्रेन में ट्रैवल कर रहे हो, पहली बार उसको देखा, तो क्या आप कंफ्यूज हो जाओगे कि वो बंदा है कि बंदी है? Of course not. Again, there are certain features by which you can identify. और ट्रेन आपने कभी वो ट्रैवल नहीं करी है, वो रेड कलर की हो गई, ग्रीन कलर की हो गई, जो टोरंटो चलती है वो उसमें बहुत सारे टोरंटो जो चलती है वो अलग तरीके की पेंटिंग करी हुई है, तो आप ये तो कंफ्यूज नहीं हो जाओगे कि ये ट्रेन नहीं है कुछ और है, नहीं ना. तो you do it every day. Then we are able to do the image recognition. This is known as image recognition. Digits को हम इस तरीके का 2, इस तरीके का 3, किसी भी तरीके का 3 हम आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते हैं, ऐसा भी 3 हम आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते हैं. We are teachers. But I want the machine also to do this. Recommendation system का जैसे मैंने आपको example बताया शिमला मसूरी वाला. That is a recommendation system. You are trying to find out the recommendation from your friends. Right? So first is the machine learning is used in those problems in which human expertise does not exist, and machine learning is used in those problems in which humans can't explain their expertise. हम कैसे करते हैं हमें खुद नहीं मालूम है, पहली चीज. और दूसरी चीज, I don't have an expertise at all. Market prediction. Market prediction आप बता ही नहीं सकते हो कि इन्फोसिस का शेयर बढ़ने वाला है कि नहीं. आज रिलायंस की AGM है. Correct. So can you say that, okay, the Reliance shares are going to increase after the AGM? You never know. Sometimes it increases, sometimes it goes down. Market 53,000 चल रहा है. कभी किसी ने सोचा भी नहीं था कि कोविड के टाइम पे 53,000 जाएगा. The corona cases were going on at a very large, but still the market was also going increasing. But last time when it happened, the market crashed. This time also, all the people expected that the market is going to crash, but the market didn't crash. So this is, you cannot forecast it. Human expertise है ही नहीं. अगर मैं आपसे पूछूं 5 साल पहले आज के दिन इन्फोसिस का क्या शेयर प्राइस था, you will not be able to tell me. But machine learning can tell you. So this is machine learning. Risks and anomalies को identify करना, this is all done with the help of machine learning. So there are 3 very important machine learning types: supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. बीच का होता है semi supervised, which is a combination of supervised and unsupervised, and I would take that in detail probably in tomorrow's session, in which I'll talk about the types of machine learning, and I would focus on one of them and take you through the hands-on also on one of them. So, but these are the basic steps which are involved in solving any machine learning problem. आप लोग को Python कितनी आती है, so that I can take you through these steps directly on Python. So can you just let me know on the chat box key how much you are comfortable on Python? Chetan sir, are you comfortable on Python? Anjali ma'am is comfortable. Okay, perfect. Chetan sir is comfortable. What about yes? Gayatri ma'am? Okay, so I think most of you are comfortable on Python. So I shouldn't be starting with NumPy, Pandas, and sklearn and everything. Are you people aware of all the 3 libraries? NumPy, Pandas, and sklearn. Okay, perfect. So then it is good. My job is reduced because I had thought that in the second half I will take you through all the 3 libraries. But since you already know, so I will not go through the 3 libraries, but I will start with solving a problem directly. So I am giving you 5 minutes of time at this point. If you जो भी अपन ने अभी तक discuss किया उसमें कुछ problems हो, कुछ questions हो तो आप पूछिए. And so through all the 6 steps of machine learning, I will directly take you to the data and show it to you. So if you have any doubts or questions till now, just let me know.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Am I audible? Huh?
Yes, Chetan sir, you are audible.
Yeah. Ma'am, I face one problem that someone asked me something like that. If you want to select means any whatever we can say that in proper place for the particular mart, we can say that something like D mart. Okay. So on the what basis you have select the particular place, or what is the basic reason behind that, or what is the basic factor depend on that, so that we can select the appropriate place for particular market. So how we
For
do
a
the
mall.
thing like that? Yeah.
Okay. Well, how you are going to decide that at which
Exactly.
point you should have a mall or should have a shop, something like that?
Okay.
यही
So
question
that
है
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So that we have to get the more means that mall should be given the more and more profit for the particular.
ठीक है. जब भी ऐसी कोई भी प्रॉब्लम आती है ना सर, so put yourself in that problem.
Yeah.
ठीक है ना. अब आप सोचो कि आप तब किसी मॉल में जाना पसंद करोगे. आप कौन से मॉल में जाना पसंद करोगे? आप खुद सोचो.
Exactly. जहाँ पे इजीली सब चीजें मिल जाए.
इसकी क्या डेफिनेशन होती है?
So that means we can say that कि अगर जहाँ पे जैसे अगर फॉर एग्जांपल अगर I live in the अमरावती, so basically अगर यहाँ पे एक वॉलमार्ट करके है तो यहाँ पे ईच एंड एवरीथिंग मिल जाता है इजी, सो दैट वी मीन्स टाइम भी बच जाता है और इधर उधर मतलब देखना नहीं पड़ता है सब चीजें. और सबसे
टाइम कैसे बचता है? देखिए चेतन सर,
exactly.
You have asked a question to decide the place.
Yeah.
आपको प्लेस डिसाइड करनी है. मॉल में सब कुछ मिल जाता है वो नहीं कि whether you are going to the mall or not, ये नहीं डिसाइड करना है आपको. आपको ये डिसाइड करना है कि कौन सी प्लेस पे मैं मॉल बनाऊं. ठीक है. तो आप अमरावती में हो सपोज, तो अमरावती में सपोज 5-6 एरियाज हैं. अब उनमें से आपको डिसाइड करना है कि कौन से एरिया में मॉल बनाऊं, है ना. ये क्वेश्चन है आपका. तो आप कौन से मॉल में जाना पसंद करोगे, जो आपके पास हो या आपसे 10 किलोमीटर दूर हो? तो ऑफ कोर्स आप वही मॉल में जाना पसंद करोगे जो आपके पास होगा. तो पहली सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग, या द फर्स्ट एंड द फॉरमोस्ट थिंग इन दिस केस इज यू वुड मेक अ मॉल एट दोस प्लेसेस इन व्हिच द पीपल कैन रीच टू यू. Correct. The distance, matlab if you find out the average distance of all the people living in 5 areas, so you may have a mall in the middle of them, so that for all of them it is average. But that is not possible in most of the cases because mall requires a lot of space.
Yeah.
ठीक है ना? So in the middle of the city, you cannot do that. So what you can do is, preferably you will find out the most populated regions. Like suppose this is also a region and this is also a region, which are two corners of the city. And you can have a mall here also, and you can have a mall here also. In that case, you can find out the population of this place and the population of this place, firstly. Secondly, you would also need to find out what is the average income of this place and this place. Like suppose if the average income of this place is quite less, which cannot afford a mall. So you need not
suggest
put a mall in at this point.
Right.
So better I will go and have a mall at this point, because this is close to the population, firstly. And secondly, I found out that what is the average income of those people of that higher population, which can afford a mall.
Correct.
ठीक है ना? So आप अपने आप को उस पे रख के देखो, you will get the answers. कि आप कहाँ जाना है, आप क्या करना चाहोगे. So that is why I mentioned for that A and B problem also. कि don't go for loading time, process time, execution time. इतना ज़्यादा theoretical मत सोचिए, या इतना ज़्यादा computer science engineering मत सोचिए. आप सोचिए आप क्या करने वाले हो. If you have to go from Nagpur to Amravati, which process I am going to follow, which route I am going to follow. कौन सा रूट मेरे लिए ज्यादा अच्छा होगा. ट्रैफिक नहीं चाहिए कि टाइम नहीं चाहिए कि डिस्टेंस चाहिए, क्या चाहिए आपको.
एग्जैक्टली. या थैंक यू सो मच मैम.
ओके, थैंक यू. तो आपको इसमें 2-3 तरीके का डेटा सेट चाहिए होगा चेतन सर. सो वन इज द डिस्टेंस एंड द सेकंड इज द एवरेज इनकम ऑफ द पीपल. फिर पॉपुलेशन, कहाँ पे जाके पॉपुलेशन है. तो ये सारी चीजों का डेटा आपको मिलेगा, तो यू कैन फाइंड आउट अ प्लेस वेयर यू कैन हैव अ मॉल.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Gayatri is a student, I suppose. So, ma'am, as a student, when it comes to project development, we try to implement the emerging technologies like face recognition, but when it comes to accuracy and effectiveness of algorithm, we get confused. So, as you talked about face recognition, it would be helpful if you could tell us the best algorithms or effective one to work upon. See, Gayatri, you are which year student? 5-year student or 3rd-year student? Final year. Okay. Gayatri, face recognition is a very, very old problem. ठीक है ना? It's मतलब आप उस पे काम जरूर कर सकते हो, but a lot of work has already been done on that, and probably people have got an accuracy of more than 99%. So 99.23% has already been achieved. Okay. So if you are going for some problem which has not been done earlier, then that is a different issue, in which you have to find out a problem which has not been worked upon earlier. Correct? But like a face recognition problem, this is a well researched problem, and you get a lot of results on face recognition already. So you can use CNN, convolution neural networks, for it, for image recognition, and the accuracy will be completely dependent on ठीक है, अपन बात करेंगे उसकी और भी ज्यादा कि what is training set, what is testing set, and what is validation set. So on the validation data, you try to evaluate your model and you test it onto a new model. So testing पे आपकी कितनी accuracy आ रही है. See, Gayatri, machine learning is a black box. Okay? Something goes inside as an input. You do something inside that black box and you get an output with an accuracy. So if you are just trying to use a machine learning library, like if you're trying to use Keras or TensorFlow, so you would directly get an accuracy. The accuracy would be the match, how much the test data is matching with your predicted model. That is the direct answer. Correct. And you would get that answer, that you would get that accuracy, how much is the accuracy in that case. But if you're trying to do it on your own, then probably that is you have to convert it into a test data, training data, and evaluate the model. Okay, I'll take an example that will make the things more clear. Just give me 2 minutes. Let me share the screen. So if you This is my data set. So if you see, this is the COVID-19 data set. What are the columns in this? Serial number, observation date, that on which date you got this result, province, state, country, last update, that is on every day at 5 o'clock you log number of patients, number of confirmed cases, number of deaths, and number of recoveries on that particular date. And this is how you are getting the data every day through news also. And when you say that okay, the recovery percentage has increased, तो आपको वो सब पता चलता रहता है, ठीक है? So as per the solving of a machine learning problem, the first thing is defining an objective. What is your objective? What are you supposed to do? So if I say I want to predict the number of corona cases on 25th of June, this is my objective in India. I want to predict the number of corona cases on 25th of June in India. This is my objective. Okay? I have decided my objective. What is my data? Data gathering. Up next step are data gathering. From where am I supposed to get the data? So currently the best way of taking the data is through Kaggle. बहुत data है इसके पास, बहुत data set है. So I'll simply go ahead and search COVID there. This is not me. COVID-19 detection from lung X-rays using custom AF. This is something different. I want the COVID data set. Okay, so this may be my correct data. Probably this also doesn't have that. Maybe I'll go to the data set directly and search for the data set. So this is one of the data sets which I can very well go ahead and download. So this is one data set of COVID. I can download this data set like this. So Kaggle is a very nice website and you can just copy it here, which gives you a lot of data sets. So like suppose if you want to work on image processing, so image classification of dogs and cats. So आप just खाली वहाँ पे देखो image classification of dogs, you would get the data set for the dogs. ज्यादातर मिल जाते हैं और अगर यहाँ पे नहीं मिल रहे हैं तो then you would have to look for the research papers in which may have worked on that particular data set and then ask the author to share the data set with you. ये भी नहीं हो रहा है तो then you will have to click the pics on your own, and that is the toughest problem, toughest part. So as I mentioned, objective identification is fairly easy. Getting the data set is very, very tough. And the next point is cleaning the data set, which is even tougher. Because you don't know what type of data you are going to get. And then you would have to apply a lot of algorithms, a lot of pre-processing to get the data in your desired format, in the format that you may need to perform certain operations onto it. Correct? So this is the COVID data set which I have received, which I have got from Kaggle. So the next thing is what are the rows, what are the columns in this? So if I say what are the columns in this, serial number, observation date, province, country, last updated, confirmed deaths and recoveries. My objective क्या है? I want to predict the number of corona cases on 25th of June in India. तो सबसे पहला मेरा क्या काम होगा? I have to sort this on India. I don't need this. Secondly, I don't need this column also. मेरे लिए सिर्फ date भी होगी तो चलेगा. I don't need this column. So the first thing that is I have to do is delete this. And when I'm doing this, I don't have to do it on the data itself, on the Excel sheet. I will do it through Python. So once you people are saying that you already know Python, so this all can be done in Python very well. You can drop the column, okay? Or you can have a new data frame in which you have chosen only these columns. So you can drop the column from the data frame, or you can have a new data frame which has only these columns. That can be easily done. Yes, no? You know it. Okay, Gayatri. Chetan sir, ma'am, can you give details on information on data gathering? That is what I told you now. That is, data gathering is the most important thing. And you need to find out from where you can get the data. Like suppose if you are working on a problem of agriculture, then you have to go to any agriculture institute and get the data. That is what I was saying, that gathering the data is important, and you need to really find out the people which can give you the data in that case. Okay. So this can be done easily. Next is you want to sort it on the country India. So let's do it. I do it. And then I can take those rows which have for India. I, J, K, L, N, H, I. So I can take all this data. खाली जम्मू एंड कश्मीर का डेटा है, तो मेरे को अगेन डेटा सेट ठीक नहीं मिला. मुझे कुछ ऐसा डेटा सेट लेना चाहिए था जिसमें बाकी स्टेट्स का भी डेटा हो. सो आई हैव नॉट रिसीव्ड अ गुड डेटा. तो हम फिर से कैगल पे जाके उस कोई दूसरा डेटा सेट भी उठा सकते हैं, बिकॉज दिस इज नॉट अ करेक्ट डेटा. एनीवेज, जस्ट टू शो यू, तो मैंने किया कंट्रोल सी और एक नई डेटा फ्रेम बना के अपना इंडिया का डेटा मैंने वहां पे सेव कर दिया. So as I said, first step was defining the objective, second was data gathering, and the third step is preparation of the data. This requires the most of your time, and data exploration also. मतलब अगर जैसे suppose आपको 6 months में, like about all the students who are listening in this workshop, if you want to go for a final year project and that is for 1 year, then probably some 7 to 8 months are gone in doing this only, in deciding your objective, then gathering the data and preparation of the data, and fourthly, data exploration. That is most important. So whenever you're going for any problem like face recognition, as what Gayatri said, so even if you're doing a face recognition, do it thoroughly. Take some data, choose a different application altogether. Like suppose if you want to go for security applications, and security applications face recognition is required. So do it in such a way so that एक बहुत अभी बहुत कॉमन चल रहा है फेस रिकॉग्निशन प्रॉब्लम विद द मास्क. If your mask is on, then on the basis of just the eyes, you are trying to recognize the face, and this is possible because retina images are different, are unique for each and every person. Correct. So this can be one of the research problems on which you can work upon, in which with a mask you are trying to recognize only the retina, and by which you are recognizing the faces. Okay, so in this case, you would need the images more focused on eyes. क्योंकि अगर आपको images मिलेंगे तो पूरे face के मिलेंगे. You won't get images focused on eyes. But in this case, if this is the problem, then you have to have images which are focused on eyes. So again, data gathering will change. As I gave you an example, in this case, this was more towards Jammu and Kashmir. So I wanted a new data set which is concentrated on all the states of the country. So again, my data set is going to change. ठीक है. Preparation of the data, आपको क्या चाहिए, जैसे मैंने अभी preparation किया, मुझे वो column नहीं चाहिए था, that is removed. Then the second part is I took the data only for the country India. Then thirdly, I need to check that whether I have any missing values in this. So this also can be done through Python. Remove the missing values. I can either remove the row, or I can, like suppose मेरे पास ये value नहीं है. There are 3 or 4 ways of doing it. या तो हम इस पूरी की पूरी row को delete कर दें. Either I delete this row. If I don't want to delete that row, because if I delete the rows, the data set is reduced, the size of the data set is reduced. Or suppose agar aise 10-15 rows हुई जिसमें the data is not there, either this or this or this, any of the columns may be missing. And if I try to remove all those rows in which one of the columns is missing, then it may, the data set size is reduced considerably. So generally we don't do that. What I can do is I can copy the upper part and place it at the bottom. I can do this. Or I can take an average of all the values and then put it over here, but that will not be correct because the number of confirmed cases are always increasing. So if I take an average of this, then it would be a very high number. So again, you need to decide that which column you are going to do that. Right? So probably I can do it average of the top and the bottom. That can also be done. So these are all the things which you can do with Python. So first is you can remove, then you can put it with an average, or you can, like suppose if you're talking about salaries of the people, then an average can be a solution. Or in such a case in which the number of corona cases are increasing every day, so average is not going to work. In this case, I can take out an average of the top and the bottom, or I can copy the top one and put it over here. So these are all the ways in which you can fill out the problems of missing values. There can be some outliers. Like by mistake, I have written this. So if I write this in this case, the number of confirmed cases are very, very high. This is of the order of 5 lakhs in one day, again, which is not possible. So I have to find out the outliers also in such cases, in which I will just remove this and then copy the above one and paste it here. Because if such cases are there, then the average is going to be changed a lot. And if suppose you're trying to find out an average of the number of cases, and on the basis of that, you're going to do the predictions, it will be a complete flaw. Okay, you will not be able to do it. So that is also a problem. So this all goes inside the preparation of the data. And the next very important part is, in any of the data analysis techniques, you cannot go for alphanumeric data. Alphanumeric data is not required. So you have to convert it into numbers. A very used technique is one-hot encoder. In this case, one-hot encoder, what we do is we write numbers instead of these dates. So what does this mean? 6th October, sorry, 10th June is equal to 1, 11th June is equal to 2, 12th June is equal to 3, like this. And I can give it to for all the dates. So now my date is this. And then I may remove this column. I've got the date. Okay. One-hot encoder can also be done through Python. There is a code for doing that one-hot encoder. Then secondly, I can remove this column because I'm doing it for India only. That is not required. So now my data is something like this: confirm deaths and recoveries. And since this has only data for Jammu and Kashmir, so I may remove this also. Like suppose, but if there would have been data for other states as well, like I may have data for Uttar Pradesh, then I may have data for Madhya Pradesh, for Maharashtra. ऐसा अगर मेरे पास कुछ डेटा होता इस तरीके का, तो then that is a categorical data. Categorical data means categories हैं. So that is I have a category of data for Jammu and Kashmir, I have a category of data for Maharashtra, and like that. So this is a categorical data. So again, it depends that whether your data analysis technique that you are going to use, which algorithm you are going to use, is going to accept the categorical data or not. Okay, na? So this all goes inside the next step, which is exploratory data analysis, data exploration. So EDA is a very important step in any of the machine learning algorithm, that is exploratory data analysis. क्योंकि इस step पे आप decide करते हो कि जो आपका data है वो कैसा है, whether the data is homogeneous or it is heterogeneous, or what type of data you have. Do you have a lot of outliers? What is a heat map? What is a correlation? बहुत सारी चीजें उस time पे आप करते हो just to find out that what type of data you have. Because when you have a huge data, like in this case, It was a simple CSV file with 264 rows. 264 is too less, and you could have done it on the Excel sheet as well, as I'm doing it right now. But what happens is sometimes you have 8 GBs of data. You have a lot of Excel files, or you have one Excel file which has some 10 lakhs and 20 lakhs of rows. In such cases, it is not possible to do it separately. Like suppose if you're trying to find out the missing values, there are 1,000 rows with missing values. So are you going to do it manually? Not possible. You have to go for Python encoding. Python coding to remove the missing values, then out the data, and then heat maps are generated. Heat maps gives you an idea what is the correlation between the features. What are features? What are features? कोई बता सकते हैं what are features? Attributes, properties of object. Very good. Features are nothing but the attributes. So I can say these are my features. So parameters, yes. So if I say I want to find out the features of a cat, so it has four legs. It has a mustache, a small mustache. It is a brown in color. So color, size, number of legs, number of hands. These are all the features. So on the basis of these features, you are going to identify a cat or do the classification of a cat, and lots of things you can do. So in this case, what are your features? Your attributes, these are your attributes. So there were only 4 columns. I could have taken some 40, 50 columns, 70 columns. So in those 70 columns, are you going to use all those 70 columns for your analysis? May not be, because then it is going to just increase the complexity of your algorithm. What you can do is you can go for feature selection. Feature selection means you may choose some of the features and you may not choose some of the features. And here comes the concept of optimization. So optimization is lasso, ridge, dropout. बहुत सारे तरीके के optimizations होते हैं just to avoid overfitting. तो overfitting क्या होता है, underfitting क्या होता है, optimization क्या होता है, this all we will probably discuss in the next session. Attributes of interest without loss of information. That is feature selection you are talking about, Bhavna, is it? No, I'm not sure who is a student and who is a faculty. So feature selection is you are trying to find out those features who are going to have some say in your prediction model, or some say in doing some predictions, evaluations, etc., etc. Okay, so that is all done in this step. Exploratory data analysis. In the case of exploratory data analysis, you actually find out which of the features are required, which of the features are not required, and in preparation of the data, you remove the missing values, you remove the duplicate values, etc., redundant values, all that is removed, and you get the correct data. Once you have the data, then you find out the correlation between the different attributes, remove those attributes which are not required, and so on. And then finally, once you have the data in the desired format, you build the model. You can choose any supervised or unsupervised learning techniques for building the model, and then you evaluate it. Now, let me make you clear what is the difference between training, validation, and testing. अगर कोई जानता है इसके बारे में तो please let me know. What is training, validation, and testing? Anybody can help me out with this? What is training, validation, and testing?
Yes, ma'am.
Chetan sir?
Yeah. So basically, we have the data set in which that particularly if certain amount of data with us. So training and testing set is something like that. Training means we learn that particular model from that experiences and all things. We put the features on that. So that is the training phase. Means all the techniques we learn from it. And testing set is something like that. On that particular feature training area, we have to test some another data, means some new data we have to test on that particular thing. And validation is something like that when we something got the error in that. So at that state, we have to make techniques to how we can reduce that error on that. That is the validation, means that will be performed better or not. Am I correct, ma'am?
Okay. Training and testing is fine, but what is validation? Training is teaching machine like feeding data. Okay, Gayatri, that is acceptable. How to finalize algorithm or model. Okay. Validation, when we enter validator, means not accept noise data. Okay. Validation is confirmation on inputs. Okay. Don't give me Wikipedia definitions, or don't give me the standard definitions. Talk in layman terms. I'm also talking in that ways only.
Validation is something like that. We have to check whole the data, means change the training and testing set gradually. So something like
so you perform validation on the testing data?
Not miss yeah.
Or on
We have to
training data?
Validation on the training data.
On the training data. So you perform the validation on the training data. So just data पे आप training करते हो, उसी पे validation करते हो?
No, validate. Sorry, testing data. Right.
Testing data पे करते हो. Okay. Anjali ma'am is saying testing data is dummy data. Not exactly, Anjali ma'am. Okay, let me show you. What happens is, like, suppose this is my data set. Okay, हम इसको दो नहीं बल्कि 3 parts में divide करते हैं. ठीक है? You must have seen many number of times and in many machine learning examples, videos, you must have seen that the data is divided into 2 parts, training part and testing part. Correct? And you, as what Chetan sir was saying, that you do your training on some data and then you perform the testing on another data. That is fine. But you don't do it into 2 parts, but you actually do it into 3 parts, because what Anjali ma'am is saying, testing data is dummy data. So testing data is always a separate data, not necessarily a dummy data. It can be a live data. Okay? So you always divide it into 3 parts. So if you have enough data, so then you divide it into 3 parts. Agar enough nahi hai, tab bahut sare different measures kare jate hain, and we may talk about that as well, because that is a different thing altogether. But in this case, what I can do is I have 264 rows, so I can divide it into probably into 70, 20, and 10, or I can divide it into 80, 10, and 10, or I can divide it into 60, 20, and 20, or 60, 30, and 10. किसी भी तरीके से जैसा मेरा मन करे हम इसको वैसे डिवाइड कर सकते हैं, but not exactly मन करे, but more we give it to the training data and we give less to the validation and testing data. Okay? So if suppose this is my complete data, so I'll say, okay, I'll take 200 rows approximately. If suppose I say, so I'll say 200, not exactly 200 also, that would be less. So I'll take, okay, say 195 rows is taken for training. And I have this much data. So out of this, I'll divide it into 2 parts. So I'll take this much as validation. Okay. The rest, I'll take it for testing. So we divide it into 3 parts and not 2 parts. ठीक है ना? इस पे मैंने अपने आप को train किया. I validate, I train this on this particular data. I train my model on this data, and then I try to do the predictions on my validation data, not on the testing data. और उस पे हम जाके फिर अपने चेकिंग करते हैं क्या एरर्स आए हैं और उसको करने की कोशिश करते हैं. Let me give you an example. Again, a layman example. क्या करें? I don't know cooking. Okay, so I need to make what? I need to make kachoris. Okay, so I need to make kachoris for the guests which are expected 1 week later. Okay, I don't know how to make kachoris and I want to make it for the guests which are expected 1 week later. So are you going to do it 1 week later? जिस दिन वो आएंगे उसी दिन आप ट्राई करोगे? नहीं, ऐसा नहीं होता. You do it sometime before. So today is the date in which I'm trying to make the kachoris. What I'll do is I'll go on YouTube, find out the video for it and see how to do it. This is known as training. I checked some 10 to 15 videos and then I got a complete idea how to do it. This was training. Then today I actually did it. And then today I actually did it. So in the evening, I made the kachoris as per the training. What was the training? I should take maida, I should add this dal, which dal, I need to add all the spices, and then I have to do all this, and I tried doing it. Now, my guests have not arrived as yet. Who is going to test this now? Or taste this kachoris? Who is going to taste these kachoris? My family members. So what I'll do is I'll make the kachoris and give to the family members and ask them to taste it. They will taste it and say, okay, mama, add some more salt to this. Add more this, make it more little crisp. So add more salt to this, which is different from the training. In the training, I was told that you should add 1 spoon of salt. But when I actually made this, my son said, you should not make it 1 spoon of salt, but you add a little bit more. So I take it, okay, 1.15 salt. So I do some twistings there. Then in the training, I was told don't make it crisp, but my son said, Mama, please make it crisp. So I again modified it and said, okay, I am going to make it crisp. All the modifications, I'll request all of you to please switch off your mics, mute your mics, lightly mute your mic. Okay? So on the basis of the experiences again, on the basis of the feedback that I have received or on the basis of whatever, I am trying to do some modifications on my training. This is known as validation. Because I am trying to make the changes. जो भी मैंने सीखा था, उसके basis पे मैंने predict किया, but that predictions were not correct. There were certain errors in that predictions. So I am trying to modify my learning. Correct? And I modified my learning and came up with some other types of predictions. And then I am doing all that in the case of validation. Now, once I know how to make kachoris, then 1 week later when my guests arrived, I made the same kachori, which was as told by my son and my family members, not as told by the training. I trained myself. So 90% of the work was done. The 10% of the work was adding things here and there. So adding things here and there, making some of the things of the modifications, and I was able to complete it well. And then I made it again. Remember, I made it again. It's not the same kachoris. I made it again for the guests 1 week later, and they liked it. And they said, oh, you have made it wonderful. I give you 100% marks. This is your accuracy. So you have training accuracy and you have testing accuracy. Training accuracy was given by your family members, which said, Mama, add 1 more pinch of salt, make it a little crisp. So you keep on modifying your accuracy. Earlier it was 70%, then it went to 80%, then it went to 90%, and probably you went for 100% accuracy in training data. So generally you get 100% accuracy in training data. Okay? So you get 100% accuracy because you try to modulate it again and again and again, and your kids are happy. Okay? So you did it. Then you again make it on the testing data. Testing data was something new that you had not seen. Aapke guest ko kaisi lagegi, you never knew it. But you made it for your guests and you didn't have any idea that what type of salt do they eat, eat, what amount of salt do they eat, do they like crispy or soft, whatever, but you made crispy kachoris because that is what told by your family members. It may be right or it may be wrong. If it is wrong, this is known as overfitting. कि आपने कुछ ज्यादा ही changes कर दिए as per the desire of your family members. So you made it brown in color, but the guest who came didn't like brown. This is known as overfitting. ठीक है? वाह क्या example. So this is known as overfitting. You tried making it very, very brown, which your guest didn't like. This is overfitting. So when I said this, so suppose I want to predict the number of corona cases on the validation data. So I said it should be, I'm going for confirmed cases. So I predicted somewhere around this. And I need to find out my loss. And what is the loss? This is my loss. This was a huge loss. So I will try to reduce the loss in the next step. So I would make it a little. My loss is reduced. So I'm going in the right direction. Then my loss is further reduced. I'm going in the right direction. Okay. So this is how you do it in the case of validation. और टेस्टिंग में तो जो आपने मॉडल बोला उसके हिसाब से आपने प्रेडिक्शन किया और उसकी एक्यूरेसी निकालोगे. 227 minus 227. डायरेक्ट एक्यूरेसी. So जो भी आपकी एक्यूरेसी क्या होगी? लॉस अपॉन द टोटल इनटू 100. That would be your final accuracy. समझ में आ गई बात? So you always have testing data, validation data and training data. तो ट्रेनिंग पे तो आपने अपने आप को ट्रेन किया. Validation पे you hyper tune your parameters. This is the correct word which is used in the case of validation. Hyper tuning, yeah, hyper tuning. The tuning your hyper parameters is what you generally say. Tuning your hyper parameters. What were your hyper parameters? Salt, crispiness, spices, etc., etc. These were hyper parameters. So you fine tune your hyper parameters. Thank you, Chetan sir. Thank you, Anjali ma'am. Thank you, Bhavna ma'am. Yeah, hyper tuning. That is what I was saying. To fine tune your hyper parameters. Correct? So have you got an idea what is the difference between tuning, testing, and validation? So this is what it says. You build the model, you evaluate the model as what I mentioned, and then you do the predictions, or that is basically the testing. Then you do the testing. So as I mentioned, it may or may not be a dummy example. It may be a real world example. As मैंने बोला कि मेरे guest आने वाले थे, so I made it fresh for them. So when I'm doing it for the guests, it is a real world example. Or if it is a dummy example, I can do that as well. So I can go ahead and create some dummy data for this. But generally, we don't do that in real world examples. In real world examples, हम इसका dummy data भी बना सकते हैं, and then I can do the testing on that. What is the accuracy on it? But it is always training, validation, and then testing. और जो आपका Python की जो मॉड्यूल है, the train test and split is basically doing it in the training and the validation. So testing you have to do it on a separate data. Okay? So the train, test, and split is basically doing it training and validation, or you can say evaluation. So training and evaluation is done by the train, test, and split module, and then you have to do the testing on the new data. So at this point of time, we can stop here, and we would continue it in the post lunch session, in which I would take you through the example of this COVID data, and we'll see the Python code for it, and we'll try to implement the model. I request you all to please log in with your laptops and not with your mobile, so that you can also do the coding along with me. Okay. I would be sharing the code with you on the chat message itself. So you can just copy paste it and put it onto your, and we will be doing it on Colab. So you can do it directly with me. So don't log in with your mobiles. Thank you so much, Chetan sir. Yes, Pranoti ma'am, it's always there. In any of the machine learning algorithms, it is always there. Train, validation, and testing. It's always there. Jupyter is fine if you want to do it on Jupyter. But those people who don't have Jupyter installed onto your systems, so please don't worry. We'll do it on Colab. Thank you, Pratik sir. It's always a pleasure interacting with you. Thank you, Sakshi ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
So we will be meeting in the post-lunch session.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a wonderful session. It was very informative and helpful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all the participants. I would like to announce that first session is over. In second session, we will be continued with Dr. Pooja Jain, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Start at 1 p.m. Because our session start at 1:30, so it is possible that we start earlier. Pooja ma'am?
Dear all, if we start the session early, then message will be posted to Cummins STTP group. Thank you.